Here, bring you guys another fantasy football video. It's Sunday morning here. We got week 15 kicking off here in about an hour, and obviously a lot of really important start-sit decisions for us all to make. We really want to make sure we win our fantasy matchups here. Lots of injury updates to get through, although kind of light on the injury front this week, so that was good to see. But yeah, I'm just going to go through the injury updates for the week, just cover any of the last-minute actives and inactives. I'll answer your guys' questions here, and I guess while I'm going through this, I'll ask you guys, because I'm torn on a really important start-sit decision myself. Half PPR, I've got Tony Pollard, Mike Evans. Not sure which one I want to roll out there. I'm a little bit worried about Pollard with the injury, but he's sort of been managed all year. So let me know what you guys think there. But yeah, I'll get into it here with the actives. So as far as the actives go, the aforementioned Tony Pollard, he's going to suit up today. Only practiced on Friday this week on a limited basis. He's done that a few times this year, so I'm not too worried about it. It's just sort of been a load management thing for him, but certainly some reason to be a little bit concerned there. Breece Hall, he'll be active as well, so I think you can play him as like a low-end running back too. There's a really wide range of outcomes there for Breece. Just hasn't looked like himself for a few weeks. I'd be worried that they're going to mix in Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen too. So Breece Hall is not a must-start by any means, but you can certainly do a lot worse if you need to play him. Dalton Kincaid should be active today as well. I don't really want to play him. He's like a low-end tight end option. Like if you had Njoku and you lost him, I could see a pivot to him being something that's okay, but he's not a guy that I'm forcing into my lineups by any means. I think there are plenty of better options out there. Josh Downs, he'll be active today, it sounds like. Yeah, it's a tough matchup there against Denver, but I do think you can play him, especially in full and half PPR formats. Ladd McConkey should be active as well, listed as a game time decision, but we're assuming he's going to play in this one. If he's active, I feel like you have to put him out there in a really great matchup against Tampa Bay. And then Bucky Irving, speaking of Tampa Bay, he should be active today, expected to play. I'd tread lightly there. That's his injury situation where just because he's active, I don't think you need to play him. It's an okay matchup there against the Chargers. I think you can certainly play him. He's looked phenomenal this season, so it's tough to bench a guy like that. But I feel pretty good about starting Rachaad White regardless. And then if you need to play Bucky, you can. But I hope you have better options just because, especially in the fantasy playoffs, I really hate that possibility of rolling a guy out there and getting a 0 or getting 2 carries before he leaves the game with an injury again. You don't know if he'll just be active as like an emergency guy. They do trust Sean Tucker and Rachaad White quite a bit, so tough to really know there. Thanks, Paul, for saying Pollard over Evans. I've been leaning Evans, so I don't know. That doesn't really help, but I was hoping to get confirmed there. So I'm going to go back and forth on it. I've gone back and forth on it like 5 times this week, but appreciate the input there. Before I get into the inactives, S. Brunden is asking Edwards, Leggett, or Ray McLeod. Oh, that's tough. If I don't know what scoring format you're in there. If it was in standard, I would probably go with Edwards just because you've got a higher odds of a touchdown there. But again, I'm worried that Vidal is going to get more involved. So assuming half PPR or full PPR, I think I lean towards Xavier Leggett. But Ray McLeod's pretty safe. You're probably going to get like 4 for 40 there. You'll get some points. So obviously you're not. If you need a touchdown, if you need the upside in standard, I think Edwards is there. If you need like a big game, it does feel like Xavier Leggett maybe has that. But if you need floor, I think Ray McLeod has that for you. Moving into the inactives here, we've got George Pickens. He'll be inactive again this week. It's kind of a bummer for that game because it's a game that we do expect to be like good football, but it's just going to be a low-scoring game, I think. I think we're going to see both teams try to run the ball a lot between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. So don't expect like massive games out of Jalen Hurts. I think if you want to play Pat Freiermuth, he's a really solid option this week. Jaylen Warren maybe gets more involved as a pass catcher. I think also if you need to in like a DFS situation, I think that maybe Mike Williams sees the field a little bit more this week, so you could certainly consider him, but don't consider him in your fantasy playoffs unless you're in like a 16-team league desperate for like a 2-second flex there. So I'm not saying to play Mike Williams, but in DFS I think that's an okay option. For the Browns, David Njoku and Cedric Tillman, they're both going to be inactive this week, so really just means wheels up for Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore. It'd be really tough to see myself benching either one of those guys, especially in a PPR format. They're averaging close to 10 targets a game each right now, and that was with David Njoku getting 12 targets a week. I think you got to play both Elijah Moore and Jerry Jeudy. They're going to be super involved. I feel pretty good about playing those guys. Deontay Johnson, he'll be inactive this week, suspended by the Ravens. Doesn't really matter. They're going to dominate the Giants anyway. Zay Flowers, I feel pretty good about, but just you could be a little bit worried about the possibility of them getting up really early. Derrick Henry has 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half or something, and then they don't need Zay Flowers anymore. So keep an eye on that, but I think it's okay to play Zay Flowers for sure, along with Mark Andrews, obviously. Tonight, we're going to have Kenneth Walker inactive, in all likelihood listed as doubtful, but we're not expecting him to play. It means Zach Charbonnet is a must-start at this point, going to be a top 15 running back this week. It should be pretty wet and rainy, it sounds like, tonight, so keep an eye on that, but I think that just really plays into Zach Charbonnet being even more involved. I feel really good about Charbonnet. That decision I was telling you, whereas Pollard or Evans, I've got Charbonnet. I'm playing him for sure over both of those guys. Will Dissly will be inactive this week, so it makes Stone Spark like a desperation dart throw at the tight end spot if you need it. I hope you can do better than that, but he's an option if you want to. It just makes me feel better about guys like Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, even as a flex option if you need it. Evan Ingram, if you didn't see torn labrum, he'll be out for the rest of the season. I'm not going to go towards like Brenton Strange or anything like that, but it does make Brian Thomas more interesting this week. So if you want to play Brian Thomas, you could certainly do a lot worse. Sauce Gardner's playing this week, but DJ Reed and their third corner in New York are inactive, so there should be opportunities for passing ball pretty effectively against New York this week. Derek Carr, he'll be inactive this week, so we're going to get Jake Haener. It's going to be a pretty gross game there. We got, obviously, the Commanders coming off of a bye. They should win that game pretty handily, so I feel really good about, obviously, the opposing side of the ball. Brian Robinson should have a big game. Should be a big win for the Commanders. But I still think you can play Alvin Kamara. He's pretty much the only one I feel good about. If you're, like, super desperate in a deep league situation, you could maybe look at MVS or Juwan Johnson, but I'd prefer not to. It's just going to be tough to trust really anything in that offense. And then Drew Lock, he'll be inactive as well. We're going to have Tommy DeVito. Doesn't feel great. You're going to get pretty limited production there out of the Giants. I think they got a 13.5 point implied point total. I don't know how they get there. So I think you can play Tyrone Tracy. You can play Malik Neighbors in like full PPR. You're hoping they catch 7 passes and end up being okay. But the odds of a touchdown there are really low for both of them. So just don't expect that. I think they're options if you need them, but just not super exciting there. But other than that, that's all the actives and inactives. If you guys have any specific questions, I'll stick around for another minute or so here while I ramble on a bit. Still going back and forth about Pollard and Evans, so if you guys want to give me input on that as well, let me know. But if you guys have any questions, just let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to get back to you guys before the games kick off. Hopefully you guys can get some wins this week. Hopefully we can catch you guys next week as well, get you guys into week 2 of the playoffs, and keep fighting our way towards those championships. So thanks for stopping by, everybody. Have a good rest of your morning, and let's go get some wins this week. Peace, everybody.